Hey all you submariners out there, this is Matt, and welcome to episode 9 of my Cold Waters Elite Difficulty playthrough. So far we've been at war for 48 days and sunk a total of 64 vessels for a total tonnage of 380,350 tons. So we're going to continue going rogue here. We're in the middle of the Norwegian Sea and have immediately gotten a contact. Sonar contact bearing 5-6, our heading is 127, so they'll be about 70 degrees off to our left. Gotta make sure that my torpedo tubes are all loaded and close the distance. Actually, I meant to go to 15,000 yards there and I forgot to click the button. I clicked close the distance, so we're gonna start a little bit farther back than normal. Immediately we do have a contact, Sierra 1, which I'm gonna try to classify here.
Ultra quiet.
I just need to slow down a little bit first. I was a little bit distracted in this encounter at first, so I may do a couple things a little bit out of ordinary from what I normally do. Just one of those days where I had maybe a little bit of harder time focusing on what I was doing at first, but I eventually got into it. So I'm going to classify this contact as a November, and as soon as I do pick up another contact, Sierra 2. Let's see what that is.
Con sonar, Sierra 2 is classified
Seems like a Victor
as
3.
submerged submarine.
So far I have 2 contacts. I'm going to continue on here to try to improve my
designated Sierra 3
solution. And I have picked up Sierra 3, so I'm going to classify that one as well. And it appears to be a Sierra, which is the most advanced of the Soviet submarines that I might face. So a Sierra and a Victor 3 are 2 of the better submarines the Soviets have in this timeline. Now that I have these 3 contacts, I'm going to set a course. I still believe the November would be my most dangerous opponent right now, considering how close he is. So I'm going to focus on the November.
02.
Skip ahead a little bit here to the point where I'm ready to shoot on the November. I've turned around to point the contact, and now I'm going to launch 2-1 at him. And while I'm doing that, I'll shoot tube 2 at the Sierra over my shoulder to the right.
Con sonar, Sierra 2. Con sonar, Sierra 2 is cavitating.
Initially I thought about holding off on that, but then as soon as he pinged me with active sonar, I decided I needed to do something right away because I expected to be fired upon right then. So I needed like a defensive weapon in the water, and that's what I did. I shot over my shoulder, and now that I've done that, I figure it's better if I keep the wire on weapon number 2. There's more of a chance the Sierra will be able to get away. So I started to turn to point the Sierra, which I may have done either way, but now that he's pinging me with active sonar, I had to shoot before I could actually turn to face him. So I'm just steering these weapons in while they've both gone active. So I'm going to steer the weapons in as much as I can, get them going in the right direction. And now I've gotten notice that there are torpedoes in the water, so I have to go torpedo evasion. Luckily, I'm already at 800 feet, so I can go flank speed immediately and not worry about cavitating. So I was already in a good position.
Con sonar lost contact. Sierra 2 last bear. Con sonar torpedo in the water. Torpedo in the water. Bearing.
I only get the notice about the torpedo in the water from my crew right now, but I've already been aware of its presence and moving before that, so I have plenty of time to evade here. I'm going to use my old torpedo evasion technique, which is point your screw towards the torpedo and knuckle like crazy, and that works immediately. And imagine I'm doing 28 knots now, and it's only right now that that the wire broke. And doing 28 knots and maneuvering to make knuckles, and only right now did the wire break on the torpedoes.
Con sonar, noisemaker, bearing.
Con knuckle form.
So we've heard a noisemaker in amongst all the other messages there. The one came up from sonar about a noisemaker, and that would be the November. launching a noisemaker, which means our weapon has acquired, and he's trying to evade it.
Knuckle formed.
So I just continue doing the dance of death with this torpedo here.
Con sonar lost contact. Sierra 1.
The November is breaking up, so we did strike the November with the weapon that we launched at it. So that's one less target to worry about. I'm feeling quite confident about my chances about this torpedo right now. It's quite far away already, and I don't believe that it will be a threat for much longer. It's going to run out of energy here fairly soon.
Knuckle formed.
But I won't get complacent. I'll keep doing my thing to make sure that it stays far away and is really no threat. I'm still getting pings from the Sierra, even though the Sierra is moving away from me at a pretty good clip, it seems like. 35 knots, so yeah, he's at flank as well. Excuse me. Right now I'm really expecting the torpedo to run out of steam at any point. So I'm actually trying to turn myself in a direction where I can re-engage on the Sierra if need be. But then I do hear another torpedo in the water.
055.
Coming at me from the other side, from my left. That was the first torpedo running out of steam right there. I heard it in the background, so it blew up.
Knuckle formed.
Now I keep in my torpedo evasion technique now because I have a new one to worry about. You can see the November sinking there in the background.
Knuckle formed.
The Sierra has launched a noisemaker, or has made a knuckle. He's maneuvering quite violently here from what I can see, so it's pretty clear that the weapon I shot at him has acquired him as well.
Knuckle formed.
So that's the beauty, and we did take down the Sierra right there.
1-3 contact breaking.
So he's done. So that's the beauty of firing a defensive weapon. It keeps them from being able to launch another one on you. They have to go torpedo evasion as well. So it keeps them busy instead of being able to just fire on you at will.
Knuckle formed.
I'm still getting sonar pings. That would be from the Victor 3.
Knuckle formed.
Even though I tried to turn somewhat in that direction as well, because of the way the torpedo is approaching me, I've had to turn away.
On torpedo room, tube 2 ready.
Knuckle formed.
Just playing the game with this one like the other ones.
Knuckle formed.
And I start to think about turning myself a little bit more towards where the Victor 3, I assume the Victor 3 is.
Knuckle formed.
You know, I'm coming around that way slowly but surely.
Knuckle formed.
And then I hear another torpedo hit the water. I hear the engine go off, and I know he's around here somewhere. I just haven't seen it yet.
Knuckle formed.
Around here somewhere. So because I don't know where it is, I do launch a noisemaker just to try to be safe, and I descend another 100 feet or so to try to get a little bit more space. Now I see the torpedo is off to my left. It's coming around behind me, and we'll probably end up finishing its turn somewhat near where the other torpedo is.
Con sonar, torpedo in the water, bearing 009.
So now I have 2 torpedoes on my butt,
Knuckle formed.
but then one of them runs out of energy, so that's back down to 1 torpedo on my butt. And well, really at this point, we've seen the torpedo evasion technique enough that I think I can just skip ahead. You can take it for granted that I was able to string this one along as well. So we'll just skip ahead here. to the next part of this next part of this battle. Mostly where the torpedo runs out of energy.
Con, knuckle formed.
So that took a couple minutes, obviously. So the torpedo runs out of energy, self-destructs, and then I immediately slow down to 5 knots.
5 knots. Maneuvering up.
And while doing that, I was able to turn myself somewhat in the direction that I think the Victor 3 is in. I'll just adjust my course a little bit with the helm controls. And get to hunting this Victor 3. Skip ahead a little bit more.
0, 5, 1.
To the point where I have just reacquired the Victor 3 and I shoot at him. And he starts pinging me right away. He was expecting me here any time. So I have the weapon number 1 from weapon number 1 on the way to the Victor 3. And we'll skip ahead a little bit more here. To the point where the weapon has acquired the Victor 3. And because I have the wire, I'm going to be able to steer it in.
Con sonar lost contact.
There you go.
Sierra
So that's it for the Victor 3. And that's it for the last target on this mission, I believe. So I'll just I'll busy myself here reloading the torpedo tube while in mission. Sometimes I do that, and other times I just wait and do it. I also want to try to get a view of the submarine maybe coming towards the camera. I'm trying to set up a shot, but he seems to be sinking straight down instead of continuing with his forward momentum, so I wasn't able to quite get that shot this time around. So I'll reload tube number 1, speed up time so that happens fairly quickly, and then I'll end the mission. There's nobody else nearby. I'll leave combat, and those were the 3 submarines on this encounter. I'll continue on. The Admiral says thank you, and then I continue on here. Now I see 2 targets near the Sosis line between the Norwegian Sea and the Barents Sea, so I'm going to head in their direction to see if I can pick one of them up. Looks like I will. Bearing 327, our heading is 16, so it'll be off to our left by about 50 degrees. So close to 15,000 yards.
Rig ship for ultra quiet.
And initiate the encounter. We have Sierra 1 and Sierra 2 already. I'll get busy classifying them right away.
Con sonar.
Looks
Sierra
like an Alpha.
1 is classified as submerged submarine.
And the next one, that looks like a November to me. Yeah, it's a November.
Con sonar. Sierra 2 is classified as submerged submarine.
What I want to do now is improve my contacts.
0 feet, dive by.
My solution on these contacts, I'll dive down to 800 feet since there's no layer of any kind, and we have deep water below the bottom below 1,000 feet. So I'll get nice and deep here while I continue to get more information about these contacts. So we'll skip ahead a little bit to the point where I feel like I'm ready to shoot. I'm ready to shoot on the November. At that point, the Alpha has dropped off my sonar, but I'm hoping that launching this weapon, this torpedo, will actually maybe force him to move, to make a move, maybe spook him into cavitating or increasing his engine output in some way, so that I can, so that sonar can reacquire him. We'll skip ahead here a little bit more to the point where the torpedo is about to acquire the November.
Control, weapon acquired.
Because I have the wire, I can steer it in, so I'll do that. Well, I'll let it be for now, but... And once again, I've taken the torpedo active, to active homing. First of all, because I like the idea of panicking everybody inside the boat. And second of all, I'm trying to see if I can make the Alpha move, flinch here, if you will. And it looks like I've been able to do that. The Alpha is now cavitating, gave himself away. So obviously he was just sitting there listening. And because he heard the torpedo go into active homing, that was enough to get him to make some sort of movement that gave away his position.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
I've fired at the Alpha, and now I'm back to the weapon 1 that I can steer into the November.
Con sonar lost
There we
contact.
go. So the November's
Sierra
down.
2, last
Now I can
bearing
focus.
3,
I can reload that
4,
tube.
9, contact breaking
Focus
up.
on weapon 2. I'll adjust its bearing, its course a little bit, so that it's more of a chance that it will encounter the Alpha. And then we'll skip ahead, and I'm speeding up time
Fire
here.
control, weapon acquired.
And now it's more like a race. It's a leg race here. We'll see. The Alpha's going to go flank. He's doing 41 knots, and my torpedo's doing a little bit faster than that. So the closing speed
Con sonar,
is still in favor
noisemaker
of the
bearing
torpedo.
3, 2, 4.
And I have about 5 minutes of runtime left on the torpedo, so really there's no way that he could get away,
Weapon acquired.
especially with the wire, because he can juke the torpedo all he wants. But I'll just keep steering it in.
Con, fire control, weapon countermeasure homing.
Yeah, this guy's done. So I'll cut the corner here to intercept him,
Con,
hit him
fire
somewhere
control, weapon
amidships.
acquired.
Con sonar lost
that's it for the
contact.
Alpha.
Sierra 1, last bearing 3, 2, 6, contact breaking up.
And that's it. So I will end this encounter here. There's no other submarines in the area. Those are the 2 that were around. And that's it. So another 2 submarines down. Now I'm going to go after this other one here that's moving north and now back south towards me. Encounter bearing 8. Our heading is 334. So we're looking at about 40 degrees or so off to our right. I'll close to 15,000 yards, reload the tube, and initiate this encounter.
Ring ship for ultra quiet.
There's no bottom here. There's a strong layer at about 85 feet. And my first instinct, since I don't have a contact right away,
Make depth
is to
4,
go
5,
up
8,
above the
dive
layer
by.
to see if there's anything up there, like really close to the surface. But as soon as I do that, I do get the contact, so I don't want to go above the layer now because I'm afraid they'll hide them from me. And I get 2 contacts right away, Sierra 1 and Sierra 2. I'm going to classify them both. I think Sierra 1 is a Victor class boat. Yeah, it looks like a Victor 3. Or maybe a Victor
Con
3.
sonar, Sierra 1 is classified
A little bit of a debate
as
there, but
submerged
it
submarine.
looks pretty close to a Victor 3. Now that looks like an Alpha.
Con
And
sonar,
it is.
Sierra 2 is
So
classified
Victor 3 and an
as
Alpha.
submerged submarine.
Victor 3 would be the most pressing threat right now.
Con,
At a
dive
33%
at
solution.
100
Now he just
feet,
pinged
dive
me.
by.
I was going to wait a little bit and get more information, but he just pinged me. He needs a weapon on him right away. Because I shot at the Victor 3, I figured it's no harm here to put one towards the Alpha in hopes of keeping him busy too.
Shoot 2-2. Aye, sir.
I activate weapon 1 a little bit early. I really want to make sure that it's pointing in the right direction. I adjust its heading a little bit here, back and forth. And I'll do the same for the one heading towards the Alpha. Now I do hear some. I did activate the weapons. I set the weapon to active homing.
Make turns.
I thought I heard a
Sonar,
torpedo,
no
so I
longer
started to
cavitating.
speed up, and then I slowed down because I thought, well, maybe it was just my
Sonar,
weapons
we are
active
cavitating.
homing. But then, yeah, I did. There is actually a torpedo inbound, so I have to go to torpedo evasion. I set my depth to 800 feet, my speed to flank,
Con
and I
sonar,
don't mind
torpedo in the
cavitating
water,
here a little bit.
Torpedo in the water, bearing.
It won't be for long.
2, 5.
Launch a noisemaker because I'm not sure if I can get my butt around and knuckle before that torpedo gets too close. So instead I use a noisemaker. And then just go into my normal torpedo evasion routine.
Con sonar, no longer cavitating.
Now we've passed the depth of the cavitation depth. So now we can go at flank and not worry about making a bunch of extra noise we don't need to.
Con, knuckle formed.
So once again, we just settle into the torpedo evasion technique.
Con, knuckle formed.
And you don't really need to see the rest of this either, really. If you've seen one, you've seen a few dozen of them by now, then you have the idea of what's happening. So we'll just skip ahead here in a few moments to the next part of this encounter. So here's the point where the torpedo runs out of energy. Just for a moment there as I move the camera around.
Make turns for 5 knots.
The weapon I launched at the Victor 3 has sunk it, and now the weapon I launched at the Alpha has acquired. We'll switch to the point of view of that weapon. Obviously, I can't control it, so we'll just watch it approach on internal guidance.
Room 2-2 ready.
And he turns right into it. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for him. Fortunately for me, unfortunately for him. And here's that shot of the submarine approaching I wanted all this time. It was an Alpha, so he had plenty of forward momentum. That's good. He's just going to come right towards the camera, which is the shot I wanted. There's the money shot right there. And then I'll watch him move away, and then finally he's just pretty much sinking straight down.
Con, maneuvering, making turns for 5 knots.
I'll stick around just a few moments longer in case there's another contact, but I don't believe there is, just because it would have made himself apparent by now. Nobody nearby. Those were the 2 boats on this mission, so I'll continue on. Get congratulations from the Admiral. Now I'm in the Barents Sea, and I don't see much in the way of contacts there, of possible targets, but one does show up and jump right on me. Unfortunately, he gets me while I'm moving at 26 knots, which is not ideal. So I'll still close to 15,000 yards. Check my torpedo tubes, which are all full.
Rig shift for ultra quiet.
And immediately rig shift for ultra quiet. Moving at 26 knots, I want to slow down immediately because I will not be able to hear anything with sonar. While I'm slowing down, I'll set a course that will hopefully allow my towed array to do a good job of picking up contacts as I slow down and it regains use. Almost to the point now where I expect the contact to come up.
Sonar, new contact bearing.
There we go.
090. Designated.
We can't even say that it's my towed array that did that. That was probably picked up by my nose array.
Con sonar.
The bow array. Sorry.
1 is classified as submerged submarine.
Looks like a Victor 2. My depth started at 600 feet, and I feel like that's a pretty good depth to stay at right now. He's a little bit above me, according to sonar. And there's a moderate layer, but it's below, so it shouldn't really come into effect. I've got a 47% solution on him, and I feel like that's good enough to shoot on, so I will put a weapon at him right away, especially since I'm pointing at him anyway. I set the activation range pretty close to my boat, and almost immediately it goes active. Only took a few seconds to get there. Now I'm just going to steer it towards where sonar believes the Victor 2 is.
Fire control, weapon acquired.
And looks like the weapon picked up. He was a little bit farther away than sonar thought, but not by a whole lot.
Con sonar, Sierra 1 is capitated.
I'll set the weapon to active homing once again in hopes that I can smoke out anybody else that might be around. And also to get a better solution on the Victor 2 so that I can steer the weapon. So that I can steer the weapon without feeling like I'm cheating.
Con sonar, new contact bearing 1.
We need to pick up a new contact,
Sierra
2, which is a little bit to the southeast. It looks like Sierra 2 is a Victor 3.
Weapon acquired.
Con sonar, Sierra 2 is classified as submerged submarine.
So now that I have him classified, I'll go back to steering the weapon towards the Victor 2. Just to make sure that that's taken care of as quickly as possible.
Con sonar, lost contact.
That's it for the Victor
Sierra
2.
1, last bearing 1. Contact.
Sonar has reclassified the Victor 3, I believe, as being a little bit closer now. And I'm going to turn and head
Helm right 2
in his direction
1, 2, 3. Helm
while I
I.
reload tube 1. So for a little bit I did lose contact Sierra 2. He disappeared off of sonar. Then he reappears closer than he had been before. I'm going to set my course to point to Victor 3
1, 2, 8. Helm I.
and also shoot at him almost right away. I just want to get moving in that direction, but I don't really want to wait any longer before I shoot, because sonar has them at about 2.5 thousand yards, so that's way too close. Set the activation range for like 600 yards.
Con, fire control, weapon
And
acquired.
as soon as it goes active, it acquires, so he is right there. Let's just skip ahead to the point now where the weapon's about to hit the Victor 3.
Con, helm, steady course. Con, sonar, lost contact.
And that's it.
Sierra 2, last bearing 1, 3, 8. Contact breaking up.
I think in this case, I watch him sink a little bit and actually sink all the way down to the ocean bottom. Just things I like to do sometimes. Some cool shots, you know. I like the effects. I like the graphics and everything in this game. So it's sometimes just fun to watch. Throwing up a little dust. Comes down with the stern first, and then the bow settles down afterwards. So there's no more submarines in this engagement. The Victor 3, the Victor 2 were both sunk. We'll continue on with the next engagement. I just want to take a look here at my tonnage. So we are right now we're up to 434,000 tons. That's about 55,000 tons or so in this episode so far, because we started at 380. So now I'm in the Barents Sea, trying to get the attention of these Maritime Patrol aircraft, so that's hopefully I get something sent up towards me. Here comes a surface group. Bearing 163, and our heading is 99, so they're about 60 degrees, 65 degrees off to the right. I'll make sure to reload tube 1, close to 15,000 yards. Immediately we have a contact, Sierra 1,
Raise the ESM mast.
in the direction that we we're told to expect. I raise the ESM mast, and I'll be raising the periscope here in a moment. So I've gotten some sonar pings for a direction of a contact that I don't have yet, so I know there'll be more than just this one.
Con, sonar, new contact.
I started at 50 feet, but I'm going to put myself at 45 feet so that the periscope can see up a little bit higher, see a little bit farther.
At 4, 5 feet, dive by.
And you can barely see this. This contact's quite far away, so it really shows up as nothing more than a shimmer in the periscope, even at maximum magnification. I lower the periscope and the ESM mast, and I'm going to set my depth to about 700 feet.
650 feet, dive by.
The bottom here is about 900. I'll set my depth at 700, which gives me a fair bit of margin here to work with if I need to. And I'm going to get to classifying contact M1, which looks like an Udaloy to me. Close to a cash-in, close to a Kara, but it's an Udaloy.
Is classified as escort.
And I'll set a course to go in his direction.
Come right to 166.
He's coming right at me. Now we got to contact Master 2 now, which I'm going to classify. Looks similar to the Udaloy.
Sonar, Master.
Not quite. It's a Kara. We'll skip ahead here a little bit. And I'm ready to shoot on the Udaloy.
Con, fire control, we've lost the wire.
Unfortunately, we lose the wire right away. We were descending and also maneuvering, so that was enough to break the wire. But I have it heading in a fairly good direction, so I'm not too worried about it. Let's skip ahead to the point where this weapon is about to acquire the Udaloy. We'll speed up time a little bit while I do that. And you see it has acquired when it makes that radical course change. And we'll speed up time as the weapon approaches.
Last bearing 203. Contact faded.
The Udaloy has that distinctive chin, big sonar in the chin there, which can be dangerous, but in this case he wasn't much of a threat.
Con, dive at 458, dive I.
So that's it for the Udaloy. I switched over to the Kara. You can see some smoke and fire there. That's the Udaloy right there. And once again, looking for the Kara, he will appear as nothing more than a little bit of haze, a little bit of nothing more than just a shimmer in the distance, but I'm able to classify him anyway through the periscope, and he shows as about 25,000 yards away. At one point I do lose the contact, and I'm going to keep moving towards him. At the same time, he fires torpedoes at me. 2 of them, actually. 2 torpedoes at me. However, they never really acquire me, and they're off far enough that I don't really have to worry about them. Be off to my right, and I see them now. There's one descending, there's one already down more or less to my depth, but neither one of them really approaches me in any way. So that's really not much to worry about. I'll keep an eye on them, of course, just in case. But I'm already past where they're searching, and they're turned away from me. I mean, they're doing the circle search thing, like the corkscrew thing, but I'm too far away to worry about that, to worry about being picked up, even moving at flank speed.
Con, maneuvering, making turns for 3 knots.
So once I'm sure these are not a threat, they're farther away now that we skipped ahead, I slow down to 5 knots, and I'm able to regain the Kara, and he's much closer than he was before. I'm going to fire at him. And then just adjust the waypoint there a little bit to something I'm a little bit more happy with.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Now the weapon has acquired the Kara and is homing in. I have the wire, so I can steer this one. And we'll speed up time a little bit. I tried to steer it while I was speeding up time, and that just didn't work very well at all. So we'll go back to normal time to do this properly. Otherwise, it might be like a bucking bronco.
Con, fire control, weapon countermeasure homing.
Con, sonar lost contact.
There we go, and that's it for the Kara.
Last bearing 195. Contact breaking up.
I'll check to see if there's any more vessels around here eventually after waiting a little bit in case there's another contact. There's nobody. It says there's aircraft around actually, so I go to flank speed and I head away, and it still says there's aircraft nearby. So I'll have to continue a little bit farther away. We'll skip ahead here a few minutes to the point where there are no longer an aircraft nearby. I'll leave combat, and those were the 2 targets on this encounter. We'll head back out to the strategic map. Save the game here. We'll back away a little bit, save the game, and head back to the summary screen. So we are 50 days at war, total 75 ships sunk, and total tonnage of 451,450. I think that's a great place to put a cut here after 5 engagements today. So thank you very much for stopping by. I'll be dropping another episode here within a couple days. So thanks once again very much for stopping by, and have a great day.